Hi everyone, this is DeFi Dad. Today I want to walk you through one of the new DeFi indexes. This is what is referred to as a smart DeFi index. So what's different about the Power Index that you'll notice in the bottom left-hand corner here, it's made up of 8 tokens. And those are 8 governance tokens from very reputable DeFi projects. You've got Aave, SNX, Comp, Maker, Wi-Fi, CVP, which is the governance token of PowerPool, which is the protocol that powers this, wrapped NXM, which represents Nexus Mutual, and then the Uni token. So what's special and different about this index is really stated very clearly here. Buy 8 DeFi blue chips at once, receive rewards, take part in fund management and the protocol's governance. That sums it all up. It's a smart index that allows you to do more than simply hold a basket of tokens. So if we go to one of the guides that's been written up by the team, and I will post this in the show notes, the breakdown here is first off, the most obvious utility is that you hold these 8 tokens. So you can see that you're able to gain 12.5% exposure to NXM or wrapped NXM, to CVP, to what is now Aave. This is the old LEN token, but that's been replaced. Wi-Fi, SNX, Comp, Maker, and Uni. So that's valuable. And that's still new utility in the DeFi markets. Indexes are a passive way to gain exposure to upside on markets, especially in the legacy markets. It's one of the most popular financial tools in the world. What Power Index Pool token enables in DeFi is the ability to actually let these 8 tokens work for you as well. So by now you've probably heard of yield farming, and in most cases, holding any one of these 8 tokens means that you could lend it, you could potentially provide liquidity, you can stake it. My point is that what if by holding this basket of tokens, you could also have exposure to each of them working for you in one of these more obvious DeFi earning mechanisms? And so, similar to what drew me to the Y vaults by Yearn.finance, those sorts of vault strategies are being applied to the underlying tokens in this index. So suddenly you own future cash flows when you hold the Power Index. You can imagine that the Aave token will be staked in the safety module, which is earning additional Aave, and then those returns will be claimable by those who hold the PIPT Power Index Pool token. Another part of this that's really interesting to me is the fact that you can participate in the governance of the 8 different tokens that you see here. Now, the most obvious is CVP. This is concentrated voting power. It refers to the PowerPool protocol, which is what created this power index. So you're holding an index of these tokens, and then one of the tokens, which actually is used to vote upon the weights and the tokens that go into future indexes like this, is CVP. And so I think it's interesting that I'm actually earning this token. I'm holding it to vote on future indexes. I'm holding it to vote on the current weighting and tokens of this power index. There's a lot of reflexivity designed into CVP being a part of that index while also helping to govern the power index. My point is that if I'm holding these 8 tokens, I'd rather hold an index of tokens that are being used to earn me additional cash flows than to hold an index that isn't putting these tokens to work. And then the other 2 points here that I've left out, you have a certain influence on the markets of those governance tokens, obviously by simply holding them and by being able to participate in governance. And then what's not been released and we've been told is a product that will be offered in the future is the ability to short this portfolio of 8 governance tokens. So today I'm going to walk you through three different opportunities to earn with the Power Index. I think just holding an index in DeFi is already a very useful tool, but these are three ways to essentially put your money to work if you are holding the Power Index. And we've got those three options under the Harvest tab at PowerIndex.io. You can hold the CVP token, which is concentrated voting power. It is the governance token of the PowerPool protocol, which actually built this Power Index. You can also just stake the Power Index token. And then lastly, you can provide liquidity for the Power Index token with Ether in a balancer pool that's in an 80-20 ratio. The first thing I'm going to show you is how to actually obtain the Power Index token. So you notice at powerindex.io, there's this supply tab, and I can use either a single token or I can deposit multiple assets. The first option here means that I could deposit any one of these individual assets. Now, this is the DeFi Pulse Index. It's a very popular $30 million of liquidity DeFi index. It is different in the fact that it has a few more tokens, and it also is dynamically adjusted according to what is the circulating supply and hence the market cap of each of the tokens. So if you're holding the DeFi Pulse Index, and if you wanted to hold a different index with tokens that are going to be used to earn yield for you and tokens that can be used for voting and governance, then the Power Index might make more sense. So the first thing I'm going to do is either mint or trade for the Power Index token, and that is abbreviated as PIPT. It stands for Power Index Pool Token. So if I were wanting to mint with, let's say, one of these individual assets, what'll happen is they will be swapped out for the 8 underlying tokens. So for example, if I put in 0.5 Ether, it's going to get swapped for all these different tokens, which could be advantageous if I have a lot of money. In my case, I'm trading for such a small amount. It makes more sense for me just to trade for the token. So the next thing I'm going to do, and I'm going to link this in the show notes, is go to this article that says Power Index is launched. There is a token address in here. Here it is, new PIPT contract. This is at the very top of the article. So if I copy this, I now have the token address that I need on Balancer to trade for it. The reason I'm doing this is because this is so new that Balancer doesn't have it as a searchable token. You actually have to paste this in. So let's go to Balancer. So in Balancer, on the left is the token that I'm going to start with, and on the right is the token I'm trading for. So here, actually, let's just leave it as DAI, and we'll trade for 100 DAI. And then on the right, I'm going to buy the Power Index token. So I pasted that in, and notice it comes up. Notice that if I were to just search PIPT, it doesn't come up. This is why I want to make that Power Index Medium post handy for you. In the future, if you watch this, you probably won't have to worry about it because I anticipate this will be a much more popular token and it'll easily be listed here by name. So let's go ahead and paste in that address again, choose it, and then I'm going to put in 100 DAI. So I'm going to get 74 PIPT. Let's just double check how much I would get if I put in 0.5 Ether. So you can see that I actually would get 213 of the Power Index token. So here's an example where I actually benefit from using this versus minting it, where I only get 211 of the token. Either way, it doesn't affect your ability to participate in liquidity mining. Another part of the minting process would have been if I used all 8 of the tokens. And again, this caters to someone who probably has more of these tokens, and it would ultimately uh, benefit them to mint the Power Index token with all 8 of these tokens. I'm going to skip all of that, and I'm just going to go ahead and buy it here. So let's go back to DAI. I'll put in 100 DAI. And first step is I need to go ahead and enable spending my DAI. So I'll put in a spending limit of 100 DAI. And then I'm going to change the gas price to 27 Gwei. So I just checked gasnow.org and it claims that my transaction should go through almost immediately at this gas price. Okay, I'm back. So I've confirmed my spending limit of 100 DAI, and then I would ultimately swap the 100 DAI for the Power Index token. Once I do this, I would actually be holding the Power Index token, and this then allows me to participate in option 2 under the yield farming programs, deposit PIPT and earn CVP, which is the governance token of PowerPool. So this to me is the second most appealing option. And once I've deposited into Balancer, I would come here, click deposit, and that would be the end of it. I would, put in my approval to spend my PIPT, and then I would deposit it. The reason I'm going to skip this is I think of the 3 options here, there are pros and cons. And the pros of the deposit CVP ETH uni is that if I'm bullish on CVP, well then obviously I might want to hold that, and then I can earn additional CVP for doing so. In doing that, I'm technically holding a trading position of CVP and Ether. So if I'm bullish on both and I'm willing to incur some impermanent loss and earn additional CVP, this makes sense. This one makes less sense to me, though, than me wanting broad exposure to the Power Index token and then simply staking it. It's really simple. I don't have to provide liquidity then, which puts me at risk of impermanent loss. However, the best option for me in terms of my own DeFi portfolio strategy is I like the PIPT ETH Balancer Pool token. Both these tokens should follow one another. I know this because I have participated in holding the DeFi Pulse Index token. And when I hold that with Ether, those 2 tokens essentially follow each other up and down. And so I have less impermanent loss, but I have the benefit of what I would call an automated rebalancing. It's something that's been talked about in the community, and it's essentially like an automated trading program for me wanting to sell whichever one of the 2 of these tokens is going up faster and buy back whichever one is falling faster in price. So in order to participate in this LP, luckily we have this liquidity provision listed already on Zapper. To get to Zapper, you go to Zapper.fi, and then once you've connected your Ethereum wallet, click on the Invest tab here, and then scroll down and search PIPT. So here's the balancer pool with the Power Index token and Ether. If I click here, I can add, let's say 0.1 ETH. I can add 0.05 ETH. So this is going to take my Ether and it's going to split it into 80% Power Index and 20% Ether. And that will then make me a liquidity provider in the balancer pool, so that I'll be able to ultimately stake that balancer pool token, which is this option here. This is what we're aiming to do because according to the market price of CVP and the rewards that are being earned based on 5.82 million in liquidity that's already in the Power Index across these different opportunities, earning yield, Uh, Today, the APY is estimated at around 692% in USDC. So I'm ready to add that liquidity, or what we commonly call zapping in. I'm going to click confirm. I checked gasnow.org like I do before every transaction, and it recommends that anything over 23 Gwei will get the transaction through in less than a minute. So let's go ahead and try this. Notice that once I kick off that transaction, you see the notification here, which helps me to track when it will be confirmed, or if there's ever an error, if the transaction fails for some reason. And if I click here, I can take a look at the transaction on Etherscan. So it's currently estimated to be sometime under 11 minutes. Okay, so you can see the transaction confirmed, and then it just indicates on Zapper that we're synchronizing balances, meaning that you can now see that I am in this balancer pool with the PowerIndex token. And so you can see the breakdown here. It's worth about $28.57 based on the 0.05 ETH that I zapped in. So back at PowerIndex.io, just to make sure you know where to find this, click on the Harvest tab. You'll have already connected your Ethereum wallet by then, otherwise do that. And then click on this bottom option to deposit. So I'm going to click deposit, and I'm going to say deposit the maximum. So in this case, these are all of my liquidity shares or liquidity pool tokens in Balancer. I'm going to do 2 transactions. One is giving approval to move those tokens. The second one is where I actually confirm. There's 2 options here. The reason is I can give approval just to move the 28.6498 tokens now. And then in the future, if I were to add more liquidity and want to stake the balancer pool token, I'll have to do this approval step all over again. If I intend to come back later, I could save myself from that transaction by clicking Infinity Approve. The risk of doing this is that if somehow someone got control of that smart contract, they'd have the ability to spend an infinite amount of whatever of those balancer pool tokens for that pool. And it's a risk that we talk about, but there's been very few instances in which that has happened. But I don't like to take the risk. So for what it's worth, approval transactions normally cost like $1 in gas, and so I set it for whatever is the amount that I'm going to be depositing here. And the next time I'll just perform that step again and skip the infinity approve. And then for the gas price under advanced, I'm going to now check gasnow.org. It says that anything over 27 Gwei will get through in less than a minute. So let's try that. All right, so my transaction is confirmed, which now means that I can actually deposit the 28.64 balancer pool tokens. So we hit confirm, and I'm going to set the gas price. We'll put it at 27 according to gasnow.org. So I'm going to save a little bit of money on gas, and I hit confirm. All right, so I've successfully deposited the balancer pool token. So I refreshed my screen, and once I did that, if you go back to Harvest and click on Deposit, I can see that I have 28.65 of the balancer pool token staked. You can see that so far I have earned 0.001 CVP. And then on the right side here, it shows me how much of it has vested. So technically, I could claim that 0.001. I'm not going to do that right now, but that's what I will do eventually when I'm ready to claim all of my CVP. One thing you want to be aware of is that there is a vesting period. And the way this works is anything less than $1 million. So that's most of us. 10% is available without vesting. 90% of what you earn will vest over a 10-week period. So keep in mind that if you participate in this, you aren't going to be able to just claim that CVP immediately and sell it. Now, if I wanted to withdraw those, I can do that here as well. For right now, though, if I go to the dashboard and then if I click on Balancer, I can see it here under Balancer. So my liquidity provision is staked. It's basically the steps that you take to get your money in the system are the steps you have to reverse to get back out of it. So I would have to withdraw my Balancer pool tokens, which are currently staked, 28.65 of them. Then I could go back to the invest tab in a Zapper and I could look up PIPT and I would have an option then to withdraw that liquidity. One thing I won't cover in this video, but you should be aware of, is that you actually can vote already on governance proposals if you hold the PIP token for Uniswap governance proposals and compound finance. Soon Aave and Wi-Fi will be enabled, and then I know the team is working on these other protocols. That's part of the reason that I'm so interested in the PowerIndex is the fact that I have the ability to yield farm, but have it automated for these tokens. So I'm holding the index and the underlying tokens are actually being used to earn more yield. And depending when you're watching this, some of those vault strategies might still be in development. If you watch this in the future, it's likely that those will all be rolled out. But that's the idea, is that each one of these will have its own investing mechanism. The other side of the coin is that I can look forward to participating in the governance for these protocols, which I think is really powerful because if I'm holding the token, I sure as hell want to be able to vote on any sort of upgrades to the protocol that could impact that token's value, but more importantly, impact the longevity of the protocol that powers that token. All right, so to recap the risks of everything that I've discussed here, first off, there's smart contract risk. That has to do with the PowerPool protocol. Now, they've had 2 audits, but audits don't guarantee safety. So I'm still assuming that I could lose everything that ever gets deposited into PowerIndex, especially in these early days. But it's a good thing that the team has had 2 audits and those are published. If you go to the pro version site of PowerPool. Next up, I don't know for sure that there are no centralized admin controls. I believe that there are still some controls there because the protocol has only been launched, I think, 3 to 4 months ago. Another risk or maybe reality to call out is just that if you are in a balancer pool like the PIPT ETH pool, there's no guarantee that you won't be impacted by impermanent loss. So there's a chance that the token prices here could diverge. ETH could go up a lot, PowerIndex could go down a lot, although I do think it's unlikely because it's an index of these major DeFi tokens, which are very strongly correlated with Ether. But regardless, impermanent loss is something that I'm always aware I may experience if I become a liquidity provider. All right, that's all I've got for you today. I hope you found this helpful. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, DeFi Tutorials with DeFi Dad. You can also follow me at DeFi_Dad on Twitter. And please also go to tv.zapper.fi. You can subscribe to my daily DeFi live stream that we produce called Yield TV through Zapper. And so the show is about covering current events and interviewing the leading founders, developers, investors, enthusiasts in the Ethereum and DeFi space. And so you can catch now 42 episodes with all sorts of interesting folks. So please be sure to check that out.